nak baca kat mana kat situ
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, good morning. So we will be starting in a few minutes, just to allow more people to join. So thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, very good afternoon from UNESCO in Jakarta.
Hello, good afternoon, Professor Shabazz. Nice
Right.
meeting you again.
To meet you too. Wonderful.
Yeah. Wissam, can we start now?
Yes, Doctor. Yes, you can go. You can go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Wissam. Assalamualaikum and very good day to everyone. I would like to welcome to all of you, especially to our distinguished guests, respective speakers and participants, to our ambassadors of sustainability. This is our second program amid a global hard time of the pandemic COVID-19. So it is my pleasure to be a moderator for this event. I am Radin Maya, currently act as a head of Micropollutant Research Center from the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Built Environment on behalf of the University of Tun Hussein on Malaysia. I would like to extend my warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the organizing committee, especially to Dr. Wessam Al-Madhun for the Ambassadors of Sustainability training organized by the UTHM, University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, Impact Youth Sustainability and Institute Technology Sumatra or ITERA, to our distinguished guests for the opening of the program. We really appreciate of your taking time of your busy schedule to join us today. So we hope that you will get lots of the information and benefit today. So to begin this program, we are pleased to have our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International, University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, Professor Dr. Ismail Abdul Rahman, to deliver the opening remarks. So the floor is yours, Professor Ismail. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So actually, it is the remark is for our Honorable Vice Chancellor. However, he's not able to deliver this speech, so I'll be reading his speech. Okay. Okay, well, warm welcome everyone to the second cycles of the Joint International Program organized by the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, that is the Impact Youth Sustainability and Institute Technology Sumatra. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this program. Ambassador of Sustainability amid global hard times of the pandemic COVID-19. This is a special event which aims to build the capacity of hundreds global activists from 100 countries who are so passionate about contributing to the promotions of the sustainable practice. A sustainable lifestyles which balance the economic development needs with the environmental protection, taking into account the social justice dimension. This is exceptional time. Nature is sending us a message. Take care of ourselves. We must take care for nature. It's time to wake up, to raise our voice. It's time to build back better for peoples and planet. The goals of sustainable development is to increase the quality of life for all peoples without increasing environmental degradation and without compromising the resources needed for the future generation. We can do this by shifting our consumption pattern toward goods that use less energy, water, and other resources, and by wasting less food. In this year of transformation, we hope to see great advance on sustainable development and climate change. Let's make this remarkable program a start of positive change movement for a sustainable and healthy planet. Let us think about environmental consequences of the choice that we make. Last but not least, I wish you a successful program which will have a positive global impact for the betterment of humanity. Thank you.
Dr. Maya, sorry, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Ismail, for the very wonderful opening remarks, highlighting the issues on the global sustainability. And we hope that the success of the program. Thank you again. So it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Dr. Shahbaz Khan. He is the Director UNESCO Regional Science Bureau for Asia and the Pacific to deliver the opening remarks. The floor is yours, Prof. Shahbaz.
Thank you very much. And thank you also to Professor Dr. Ismail for giving excellent opening remarks on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. So university is doing a great job in bringing young people together. Congratulations to everybody. And also special congratulations to Dr. Wissam for doing a great job in linking with all the young people and all those colleagues who have joined from around the world. I hope you can hear me well and you are all well. Dear Dr. Maya, you can hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Alhamdulillah. So with that, okay, I prepared a presentation for you to make you think a bit different about sustainability than what normally we do. Sustainability is nothing like an abstract concept. It's our life, really, and how it affects all of us. Today, I would like to give you some food for thought about social inequalities and how can we reduce those inequalities and how it leads to sustainable development and better human rights. So in that regard, I would like to share some slides with you and some of the work the world is doing and my office in Jakarta is doing. Today, I'm in Jakarta in Indonesia. And I hope the corona situation is improving wherever you are and you are safe. So we are still going through these challenges. So let me share my screen to show you some of the ideas. Okay, so hopefully you can see the screen. Is it clear?
Yes, Prof. Okay, yep.
Okay, thank you very much. So for this second effort to bring colleagues for learning about sustainability, I thought I'd give you some ideas about what we call inequalities. My office is in Jakarta. It's a regional bureau for science, engineering, technology, and innovation for whole of the Asia Pacific. 49 countries we serve. Also, we have a special representation. So I'm representative to Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Timor-Leste from UNESCO. And Malaysia is a very important country where our colleagues are linking with you today. So let's think about the issue of inequalities and how they decide our future and what can we do. Let me first give you an idea about UNESCO. As you know, United Nations came into existence after the World War II. And so UNESCO as a specialized agency of the United Nations. And certainly at that time, very important issue was peace. And you would agree that still peace is a very big issue for all of us. So our overarching objective is to contribute to peace. And the second one is towards sustainable development. And for sustainable development is what all you young people are doing about understanding sustainability, practicing in your life, and changing the world. So every one of you have to play a very important role to contribute to sustainable development and to eradicate poverty. And I will give you ideas during my 20 minutes or so how it links with sustainable development goals. UNESCO has two priorities as global priorities. Africa, so we have a very big emphasis on Africa. Colleagues from Africa, you have joined us. We have a number of offices in Africa as well. So it's a big priority. Also from Asia, we link very actively with Africa through Malaysia UNESCO Cooperation Program. There is one such example, but there are many other efforts as well. And then gender. I'm pleased to see Dr. Maya taking the Master of Ceremony position. So it means ladies are very active. So gender is very important for us if we have to have a sustainable world. But there are biases about gender. So we have to work together to remove those biases and give due chance to every person on this earth. Then other areas are small islands and developing states. So I hope some colleagues have joined from SIDS. Examples of SIDS in Asia Pacific. Pacific is the area where many SIDS are. So like, for example, Samoa, like Fiji, like Timor-Leste, LDCs, least developed countries. Least developed countries, like Timor-Leste is an example, but there are others. Look into Google and you will find them. Countries in transition where their boundaries may be changing, and I don't need to take any names. You know them. You follow the news. And of course, youth is a very important priority for us. That's why I'm here with you. I was talking to a sustainability webinar just now about engineering, and I run from there to come and meet you. Okay, let's talk about inequalities. We are living in a world which is out of balance. So certainly Corona has shown us many of those imbalances. But even before Corona, we had major imbalance between people and the planet Earth, which I will show you in my presentation. And we also have a persistent imbalance between people. Within a society, there are imbalances. So let me show you what do I mean by that. I'm sure you would have seen some of these figures. And here you see a multi-rise building and excellent tennis courts and very nice swimming pool. And the other side are the people living with almost nothing, what we call them living in slums. Unfortunately, only 1% of the richest people own more than 40% of global assets. So they have all the wealth, only 1%, 40% of global assets, whereas 50% of the poorest people own only 1% of the global wealth. So this is what I call social inequality. So while in some countries, women are now, female colleagues are now in very good positions, but most of the world still is in trouble. Women earn only 10% of the global income. Is this fair? Is this distribution correct? How can we help reduce inequalities? And unless we reduce inequalities, how can we have sustainable development? That's the challenge. Also, there is imbalance between people. There are people who are dying for simple diseases which can be cured with a simple pill, like, for example, diarrhea is one of the greatest killers in the world, while others can have most sophisticated medical equipment. So we have a challenge. How do we make sure that these divides can be avoided? And in Corona situation, if vaccines become available, everyone should have access to vaccines. So there are those kind of challenges for health. That's why we have a sustainable development goal for better health for everybody, leaving no one behind. Then also we have problems in terms of food security. And here you see food we don't want. If we don't like a burger, throw it into the bin. While it can be a major loss for our natural resources, water, land, nutrients, and everything. And there are people who are living on little crumbs. So there is a huge imbalance here. Also, there is a lot of water in many places. In fact, in many places, too much. We may have floods. And in other places, we have droughts and there is no water there. So the world is unequally spatially distributed by wealth, by opportunities. So we have these challenges related to our security of food, our security related to health, our security related to water, and how can we make sure people do not die for those simple reasons for which the medicine has already advanced so much? Like why someone should be dying because of diarrhea if they can't get proper treatment for that? Also, there is imbalance between people and the planet. So first of all, we have made many species go extinct very, very quickly. So there are so many. This is the blue is when the human population is rising, and the red is the number of species becoming extinct. So that's a big challenge for us. Many species our children will not be able to see whether they ever existed. This is credible data from US Geological Survey. Then we also have problem with deforestation. So population and deforestation, very, very straight links. Population rising, deforest. We are cutting forests like, I would say, yeah, mad people in the world. So we have this kind of imbalance. What is the problem with cutting the forest? Because the forests are cut, we will not be able to assimilate the greenhouse emissions. If we can't assimilate the greenhouse emissions, we enter into climate extremes, more floods, more droughts, more diseases. So all those problems of climate change simply because we are not taking care of our forests. More population, more forest is being cut. Also, the greenhouse emissions have never been so high as they are now. So we are into serious crossing over of limits because of the social inequalities. Some of us want too much and want it now, while the others have nothing and they are struggling for very little. So that's where the environmental inequalities between people and the planet are there as well. And the temperatures are rising. We are using more air conditioners if we have more money, while the others are struggling to survive even for the basic fuel. Also, we have seen in these 200 years, and I deliberately put it to 2018, from 1818 to 2018, in 20 years, many things have multiplied. Population by a factor of 7.5, GDP by a factor of 433, GDP per capita by a factor of 65, energy by a factor of 45, emissions by a factor of 20, mobility, we can go as fast as you like by thousands of times, but urbanization has accelerated so much. So please, when you are learning about sustainability, think about these quantum jumps and the inequalities very, very carefully. What this is leading is to major trouble for water resources. In most places in the world, either is too little, too much, or too dirty water. So too little, drought, too much, floods. And then we have too dirty, all kind of pollution there. Soil is polluted, air is polluted. There is diffuse pollution, which is from pesticides, from fertilizers, from environmental and public health impacts, which can be really devastating right up to the level of the cancer. So we have this problem. Who is causing these problems? Who is at the receiving end? Who should actually fix these problems, and what is the role of youth as you come together on this wonderful network and this journey? How can we learn together? Disasters are increasing. There are tsunamis, there are floods, there are every kind of droughts and storm surges. So many things are happening. Is it happening because of all the changes which have accelerated? Is it happening because of these imbalances? Or simply, this is a different world in which we live now? Also, oceans are at risk. Pollution is at its highest level. We are fishing the ocean too much. There is acidification of oceans. There is bleaching of the coral reefs, and the species are becoming extinct. Sea levels are rising. Many cities can simply disappear, and small islands are under serious threat. The areas of coastal flooding are increasing. Should we continue to build sea walls, or should we change the way we manage our lives in this world and become more sustainable? That's where this interesting analysis, which was put together a long time ago, and some of you may have seen it. The way things are going, where we were in 2008, we needed 1.5 planet Earth to live that lifestyle. And if we continue the same by 2050, we are already into year 2020. In 30 years, we will need almost 3 planets. What should we do? Should we invest into rocket science and space science and go and find another planet and live there and pollute it as well? Or should we become more sustainable? That's why I thought this time for your second round, do a deep soul searching. What can you do individually to change the world? And for that, we have to come to a balance, and we have to reduce, reuse, recycle, and change the mindset to be able to come to the balance where we can live on one planet. If everyone wants the lifestyle of the people in the US, maybe the global deficit will be 4 planets. And if you want to live in the lifestyle of UK, the deficit will be 2.5. We need 3.4 planets, and so on. And some countries may be in balance. It's not the competition between countries. It's the understanding of the lifestyle. What is really a sustainable lifestyle? How do we reduce our footprints, our water footprints, our energy footprints? And how do we live in a more ecologically friendly way? On social inequalities, I would like to draw your attention to this World Social Science Report published by UNESCO. Some of the ideas I've described to you, they are in this report as well, freely available, open access, and you can find many of the things what I'm discussing here about inequalities. Okay, let's now see, with all these challenges, is there a hope in the world? Of course, the first hope is you are on this course, so we are very happy to have you here. World has started in year 2015 what we call Sustainable Development Goals. So leaving no one behind. There should be no poverty, there should be no hunger, people should have good health, there should be good education, there should be gender equality, there should be clean water, there should be clean energy, there should be decent work, there should be better industry, there should be no inequalities, there should be better cities, there should be responsible consumption and production, there should be better management of climate change. We should have better care of our oceans, better care of our biodiversity. We should have better governance, no corruption, and we should move to a system where everybody collaborates with each other. If that can be achieved, that would be wonderful. That's what the idea with the Sustainable Development Goals is, and I gave you the background that why we need them. And then we have the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So can we work together to reduce the impact of disasters and have more resilience? And then the Paris Agreement about climate change, and then also the areas related to small islands. So this should put you into a global context where the world is, what we are trying to do, but who will achieve the SDGs? The governments, United Nations? The answer is alone, not the United Nations system can do it, not any government can do it. All of us have to work together, and that's why your effort as a youth network can change the world, believe me. Okay, let me now give you some ideas about promoting gender equality. How can we do it? First of all, education is the key for addressing disparity and improving the quality of education. And we have many programs about that. Also, natural sciences can help build women's capacity. We have a special program about women in science for their capacity building and for knowledge dissemination. And in social and human science areas, we can target gender transformative policies, and very importantly, culture. World heritage sites, intangible heritage, the special games, special sports, what we have learned over centuries. Continuing with gender equality, another very big issue is gender-based violence. So nobody should be subject to any violence anywhere, whether in home or whether in the world. And gender-based violence, how can we avoid that gender-based violence in schools? How can we promote better understanding of the world? That's where we have programs which I draw your attention about sustainable development, education for sustainable development, global citizenship education. All this is available online. You can download those reports and ideas. Continuing again with social inequalities, there is global citizenship education. Also, we released this year Inclusion and Education, a global report. And this particular report is looking into education for sustainable development. and gives 10 recommendations for making education inclusive, whether a child is far away from a big city or whether a child is in a capital city, same standard of education, whether you are in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, everyone has a right to education. This is a basic human right. Coming to science policy and also gender and science, we are promoting women from all over the world into science, and that will lead to better sustainability, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and gender focus, and also a special day for women and girls in science. We are celebrating every year now. Also, culture. I early this morning I spoke to colleagues from around the world who come to Borobudur to learn about sustainability. We have to look after our local indigenous cultural practices, people who know how to manage our landscapes, how to manage our culture. They are disappearing because simply they do not have jobs, and modernization have taken over. Here is the example from the Philippines where the young farmers no longer want to work in their areas because simply they do not have enough money. They go to cities, and who will take care of our landscape? Here is an example from India where those people who could do plastering with lime, they are disappearing. Why they are disappearing? Because simply there are no jobs in plaster. I will go a little bit faster and come to conclusion. But certainly, hopefully, you are getting some ideas that we have these major challenges. UNESCO is also promoting communication, information, social media, and gender. And also, we have quite a few days, especially focused on women and girls. International Women's Day, International Day of Child. So please celebrate them. Congratulate your sisters, your mothers, your colleagues who are doing such wonderful work. Also, support each other. So here are some of the examples of the projects in my office. So here, one project we have in many countries is to promote learning with empathy so we can get rid of gender-based violence. How can we bring better human rights during COVID situation? How can we have better youth and sports as activities, and also to promote yoga and yoga poses to get rid of some of the challenges for the women and girl and the victims of domestic violence. This particular project in Philippines is trying to bring those girls who have been out of school and bringing them to understand different livelihood practices so they can have better lives and they can graduate again and can go to university. So there are a lot of those interesting ideas about inclusion. Then also there are a number of initiatives and their reports are available about global citizen education, education for sustainable development, green schools where you can play a big role in the schools with your teachers, technical and vocational education, and how youth can play a bigger role in the sustainable development. This particular diagram shows the sustainable development goals and human rights. So we have to continue to bring human rights and the sustainable development goals together. What are the human rights? Education is a basic human right. No poverty is a basic human right. Decent job is a basic human right. So we must respect those human rights. And that's where we have a number of initiatives where we are working on human rights and sustainable development goals through tourism, through better response to COVID, through better understanding of the problem with inclusion of many of parts of society, and how do we develop better inclusive policies. Lastly, like your webinar today, we are actively doing webinars during this COVID time using ICTs, like I just came from this one where we have engineering colleagues working together to understand how can we break barriers like broadband connectivity, engineering qualifications. If somebody graduates from one university, how they can be employed in another country, how we promote better collaboration among nations through South-South cooperation. So this particular one is focusing on Malaysia and the world. We have youth and young professionals and disaster risk reduction networks. You are welcome to have a look. And if you want to link with me, unfortunately, all my 5,000 friend places on Facebook are taken, so you can follow me. Now to conclusions. So in conclusion, for sustainability, rising inequalities, we have to reduce them. If there has to be sustainable development and peace, we must give everyone what is their due right. There must be justice. and everyone should benefit from the sustainable development goals, leaving no one behind. Also, making sure that the income inequalities, the political inequalities, the cultural inequalities, and the stereotypes, we must get over them, and we must make sure that we continue to work together, giving room to each other, moving together on sustainability. Also, must recognize the historical legacies which are there and how can we work together, and also bring our culture forward. Collective action by everyone is important. I strongly believe every one of you can be part of the novel solutions, and you can make a difference through your efforts. And Dr. Wissam, I really congratulate you and colleagues. You are bringing interdisciplinary, multi-scale, globally inclusive approach through this international youth network. This is really what my conclusion is, that all these colleagues who are coming from different backgrounds, they bring the interdisciplinary multi-scale approach. Let's keep the hope going. Most welcome to link on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and thank you again for inviting me. I will stay for a while. If there would be any questions, I will be happy to answer. So congratulations for organizing this course again, and certainly keep faith, giving respect to each other and understanding our differences, but at the same time, overcoming those barriers, we can change the world towards a better peace and better opportunities for everyone. World belongs to every one of us, and we must respect our rights wherever we are and the rights of the environment at the same time. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful learning and training.
Thank you so much, Professor Shabazz, for your very impactful speech on the reducing the inequalities for us to achieve the sustainability. I believe this is like an eyes opening to everyone, which is you mentioned that education is very important, yeah, to for us to aim fulfill the SDG especially. So thank you so much. Now we can go for the one or two questions from the audience, Dr. Wissam.
Yes, Doctor.
Thank you.
So please, if you have any question to Prof. Shahbaz, you can drop your question at the chat box.
And I will put a brief summary on my LinkedIn page from today, so you should be able to see it. Normally 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time, and we appreciate your support as usual.
You're doing a great job, really, every one of you. I like everyone who is collaborating on this. This is the way we will change the world. Every one of us have to stand for the sustainability.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof.
Any question?
So far there is no questions.
No question. Okay, you may contact Professor Shabazz if you have anything. He has given the LinkedIn link and also the other social media network. He has run lots of the activities from the UNESCO. I believe this is a very useful information to all of us. Continue.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. I will be in the background for a while, then I will disappear.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
To continue our program, I would like to invite our collaborators, Associate Professor Dr. Acep Fulkon. He is the Director of the International Office, ITERA, Institute of the Technology Sumatra in Indonesia, to deliver the opening remarks. Dipersilakan ya. Welcome, Dr. Acep. Dr. Acep, are you there?
Acep, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, yes. Dr. Acep, you need to unmute your voice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Okay, someone should change to be host. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Maya and Professor Wesam, and also Professor Sahbaz Khan. It's really a great honor for us from ITERA, Institute Technology Sumatra, to join again for the second batch. Yeah, the first batch was very successful with plenty of participants, and this is the second batch because so many people would like to join for this program. So this program is very good, 10 hours program for 5 days. Every day is two hours, and every days will be different issues, and every participant can enjoy every day because you can enjoy the different issues for each sustainable. From ITERA side, we really welcome for all participants to join, and especially to make further activity after this program to be more action plan, yeah, how to do together, because as Professor Khan mentioned, we really concerned about education. In our case, is education level. So education is key, yeah, key for sustainability. The knowledge is very important, and also the innovation is very important, and it's executed by university in our case. So to support for the SDGs, yeah, especially in Sumatra Island, we of course we have plenty of problem in local problem, and by collaboration or by mutual benefit in international community, actually we can solve this problem. So that's why our problem nowadays more complex, and as you know, it cannot be solved by monodiscipline. We need interdisciplinary solution, yeah, and cross countries, something like that, and also regional strengthening for the regional something like that. So this is our issue, and as mentioned, education is a basic human right. So we want to strengthen for the education as the key factor to support for the sustainability. Yeah. So the any people who have interest for this education, we really welcome, and we can make more collaboration, and also action plan for some activities. Yeah, there are plenty research grant or something like that related this one. So I think this is the very important, as mentioned by Professor Wesam, from 90 countries, and so many people register for this program. So I think we have big power to execute or to implement our dream together. So I think that's all I can talk for this opening. And please enjoy for everybody. This is very, very worth it meeting, yeah. And I think we can make some activity after this program, after you know each issue in sustainability, and you can focus for one or two of sustainability, and you become very important person in your country as ambassador of sustainability. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Acep, for your opening remarks. Yeah? So you have mentioned that we need to have a work together, and also ITERA, Institute of Technology Sumatra, offered to work together in terms of collaboration. Yeah,
Yeah, if you have time, please welcome to ITERA, everybody, and make some activity and enjoy here.
After the COVID over, inshallah.
Yeah, after COVID covered, yeah, right.
So we need to strengthen our education and in terms of the multidisciplinary area. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Aceh. That's a very wonderful opening remarks from ITERA, Sumatra, Indonesia. So next is our main organizer. With his effort, that's why we are here today, Dr. Wesam, to give the opening introductions speech. You are most welcome, Dr. Wesam.
Yeah, Dr. Maya, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Achib, for your enlightening remarks. And thank you so much for joining for everyone. I'll be sharing a few points just to put you on the context of this program. And I really appreciate your interest in joining the program. So let's just have a discussion on the context of the program and the coming sessions, so that you are aware about the context and our future plans in terms of programs which we plan jointly. When I talk jointly, I mean University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, Impact Youth Sustainability, and definitely we will be having more partners. We are working and we are collaborating with Dr. Achib from Institute Technology Sumatra, and as we have a continuous discussion with a lot of members on the ambassadors of sustainability, or those who join the groups of the Impact Youth Sustainability, and I can see a lot of members from various backgrounds. And to me, it's not like surprising that I see many people from business backgrounds, economy, policy, even some of the, I see people from diplomacy backgrounds, because again, it is about a collaborative approach and the efforts of everyone, like Prof. Shahbaz Khan, that is needed to promote sustainability and make this happen. And we are not talking about a miracle that we are going to achieve. It's something realistic, and it can be done. In my presentation, I will focus more on some concepts, and I will try to link the discussion as well to the COVID-19 scenario. As we know, we are living in some harsh conditions, and many countries under lockdown because of the COVID-19. So basically, if we talk about the link between the environmental challenge and the COVID-19, so basically the link is there, because when we talk about the pandemic, so it is linked to the biodiversity issues and some negative practices by the humans, which lead to this pandemic. And if we talk about the global environmental threats, we have the climate change issue, a lot of people talking about it and trying to contribute to kind of slowing down the global warming and climate change. We have the biodiversity loss, which include intensive agriculture, unsustainable fishing, wildlife poaching, habitat degradation, destruction, acid rain, and also the climate change, which is threatening thousands of species. We have the air pollution and water pollution. This is, if you talk about locally or regionally, and even on the global scale, when we talk about climate change, it's basically an air pollution issue, because the greenhouses that leads to the global warming, it's basically and air pollutants. We also have water crisis and conflicts. We have natural resources drain, deforestation impact, and we have soil degradation. If you can see here in this graph, we see the the resources consumption, and this graphs from 1980 up to 2005. You can see the on the graph on the right, you see the number of population, how it increased, right? And so we can see also GDP increase, right? But we can see the mineral intensity is decreasing because the resources extraction is increasing, right? And this is related to the environmental challenges, threats that we are living in, because the number of population increasing, so we have to extract more resources. And during the extraction of the resources, that will lead to definitely different types of pollutants. And the consumption of those resources also will lead to a lot of pollution potentials, right? And you can see here the consumption of biomass in billions tons. You can see the consumption of minerals, so the usage of minerals, the usage of fossil fuels, which lead to a lot of emissions. And also we are talking about that usage of the consumption of metals, and that is the basic material for industry, where when we talk about the pollutants, whether we are talking about air pollution, water pollution, a lot of those type of pollutants is released by the industrial processes. Here you can see in this table the risk. You can see here the percentage of death. This is from the indoor smoke from solid fuels. This is the percentage worldwide, and this is the percentage in low and middle income, and this is the percentage in the high income. Prof. Shahbaz just now mentioned about the inequalities, and you can see here even from the consequence, you will see that the higher rate is at the low and middle income. When we talk about the indoor smoke, this is the percentage of death. So you see 3.9% in the low and middle income, 0 in the high income. Unsafe water, sanitation, and hygiene, talking about 3.8 in the low and middle income, 0.1 in the high income. Lead exposure, global climate change. So overall, we are talking about the risk, 9.6 in the low and middle income, while it's 2.6 in the high income. And this is the biggest inequality. We talk about a higher consumption in the high income countries, while the risk is higher at the low and middle income. So I will try here to give you some figures, and this is the latest figure on the coronavirus fatalities. So we have now over 1 million deaths due to the coronavirus, right? And we have more than 40 million coronavirus cases, right? So let's see, when we talk about the coronavirus, right? So we have here over 1 million deaths. We have 40 million, right? This is the worst case scenario? Is there any previous disaster that we faced that is similar to the coronavirus, right? Let's see in numbers. For me and for us as engineers, we like numbers. And I think for people from the business background and economy, also they like numbers. So let's see in numbers how is the scenario of the COVID-19, and the other disasters that we faced previously. So in this figure, you see the global death from natural disasters, and this is from 1900 to 2018, right? And you can see from this figure that it's almost like in 1930, we have the highest number of deaths from disasters, and this is natural disasters, right? Which include droughts, flooding, extreme temperature, landslide, mass movements, wildlife, volcanic, and earthquakes. So the highest number was almost 3.7 million, right? And that is, it's more than 100 years, right? So now we are talking about COVID-19, more than 1 million. Here in 1930, we had more than 3.7 million, right? So this is another, to me, I call it definitely, it's an atmospheric disaster when in the WHO reports, this is a recent report by WHO, which mentions that 7 million people dying every year because of air pollution, right? So when we talk about 7 million comparing to 1 million, it's almost, we are talking about 7 times greater than the COVID-19, right? And these 7 million, 2 million in Southeast Asia, 2 million in Western Pacific, 1 million in Africa, 500,000 in Eastern Mediterranean, 500,000 in Europe, 300,000 in the Americas, right? And those people dying by strokes, due to heart disease, due to lung cancer, both chronic and acute respiratory disease, right? So if we want to judge based on the number of fatalities, the only air pollution annually, right, causing more damage than the COVID-19. So those 7 million who are dying because of air pollution, 21% due to pneumonia, 20% due to strokes, 34% due to ischemic heart disease, 19% due to the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and 7% due to lung cancer. These the reasons, the symptoms, that cause the death of 7 million people. Another more serious issue, which is out of the 7 million, we are talking about 3.8 million people dying because of indoor air pollution, which come from the usage of the biomass, right, for cooking, where we can see in many countries, people stay really on the solid fuels, kerosene and wood, which cause pollutants, especially in the indoor environment. And in this case, women and children are the most at risk vulnerable groups. And those people dying again from strokes, 27% by the ischemic heart disease, 20% from the chronic obstructive disease, and 8% due to lung cancer, 27% due to pneumonia. So basically, we're talking about heart and respiratory disease. So when we talk about people who are using the biomass, these are the percentage of people who are relying on the biomass in different countries. We can see here in India, for example, 43%, which is more than 700 million people, are exposed to this type of pollution because they are still using the biomass, either for cooking or for heating. In China, 30%. And we can see in Nigeria, 71%. Myanmar, talking about 81%. Indonesia, 28%, right? So we are talking about millions of people who are exposed to this type of pollutants, and that leads, as I mentioned in the previous slides, it causes it causes 3.8 deaths, right? Which is, again, far beyond the impacts of COVID-19. And that is annual event. It's not a one time, it is an annual event. So this is just to show you the correlation between the consumption of the biomass. This is the proportion of population using the solid fuels in India, right? It is correlated with the pollutants, the particulate matters, which is being created by the consumption of the solid fuels. And this map shows you the death per 100,000 due to the air pollution, right? So these are, you can see when we are when we are using the solid fuels, that will create a lot of pollutants and that will lead to a higher rate of deaths. And later on, I will show you how many people are dying in India alone annually, right? We'll talk about some economical figure as well, right? Okay, so this is here one more figure, and this is the disaster impacts from 2000 to 2012. We are talking about a loss, damages $1.7 trillion, 2.9 billion affected, and 1.2 million killed, right? So these are the disasters. You know, when I'm giving those numbers, I'd like to put you on the context of comparing the impacts of COVID-19 and paying attention to all these disasters that we've been exposed annually, right? And that is causing a lot of worst impacts, but it is being like we are adapted to those kind of, flooding, air pollution. But if you look at the numbers, they are far beyond the impacts of COVID-19. So this is one more interesting figure, which is showing the cost of environmental degradation, right? Health and natural resources damages. And you can see here, this is kind of various countries. The highest is in Ghana, 9.6% of the GDP is being lost because of environmental degradation. Tajikistan, we are talking about 9.5%. China, 9%. You can see here, for example, Egypt, 4.8% of the GDP. India, 5.7%. Can see some examples here. The lowest is Tunisia, 2.1%. Jordan, 2.3% of the GDP, right? Like here also, Colombia, 3.7%, Syria, 3.5%. So you can see when a country is losing 9.6% of the total GDP annually, and that is because of the environmental degradation. I am trying to prove, and I will show you by numbers. I will convince you by numbers that this is the main argument here. When we are talking about saving the environment, the environmental elements, protection of the environment, it's not a burden to the economy. When we are protecting the economy, when we are protecting the environment, we will save the economy as well, right? But we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to kind of assist in a holistic approach the sustainability elements. It's not only about considering that from the perspective of the industry when they are investing some money, even it is in millions, right? To kind of control the pollutants, purify the air, treat the water. But that is on the global scale. On the national level, it will save the national economy. It will save the budget of the country. Because here we are talking about a loss to the national economy. And if it is not like kind of clear to you, the very basic thing, when we have a damage to the environment, and that is the clear consequence of the environmental pollution. We are talking about the health impacts, right? When we have the people, our people, getting sick because of air pollution, because of water pollution, right? Then they have to go for medical treatment. The first and immediate impact, when people are sick, they will take leave. So we lose the productivity of those people. When they go to hospital, they have to undergo a treatment. They will get medicine, right? And they have to stay at home maybe for a few days. So we lose the productivity of the human, the people. They have to be, if they go to government hospitals, then they be kind of a minimal cost, and the other part will be covered by the insurance, which is paid by the government. So the government here is losing, right? And when the people sick, you need somebody, like if you have one guy sick, right? You need somebody to take care of him or her. So then you will lose the productivity of two people. So this is some figures here on the productivity. The global air pollution, right, related healthcare cost projected to increase from 21 billion in 2015 to 176 billion in 2060, right? We are talking about a jump from 20 billion, not million, billion, to 176 billion, right? And when we talk about productivity, so by 2060, the annual number of lost working days, right, are projected to reach 3.7 billion. Currently, we are talking about 1.2 billion working days. So you just imagine, and you try to multiply what is the average wages, the daily wages for the employees, and you will see how much this means in dollars, right, to the economy. So the market impacts of outdoor air pollution, which include impacts on labor productivity, health expenditure, agricultural crop yields. Definitely one of the aspects when we talk about air pollution causes a reduction in the crops yield, right? And this is a very kind of logical and scientific process, that when we have particulates in the atmosphere, when we have air pollution, that will affect the photosynthesis process in the agriculture, in the crops, and that will reduce the yields, the productivity of the crops. And that is leading to a global economic cost, which gradually will reach 1% of the global GDP by 2060. And if somebody asking about the global GDP, the current global GDP, we are talking about $88 trillion, right? So just imagine how much this means. This is just to give you an idea, and this example from India again. This is the relative share of damage caused by the environmental category, and this will be vary from one country to another. So in India, for example, indoor air pollution is account for 23%, the cropland degradation 19%, the water supply and sanitation and hygiene 14%, outdoor air pollution 29%. So this will be varied. Those are the reasons of the environmental damage. And here also the annual cost of the environmental damage when we talk about different sectors or different types of pollutants, outdoor air pollution, indoor air pollution, crop land degradation, water supply. So those are the causes for the environmental, how we are losing because of the environmental threats and damages, right? So this is a very recent study shows that the predicted impacts of the COVID-19 on the global GDP, right? It might reach up to 8% of the GDP, the real GDP globally, right? While in the same study,
it stated that every year, because of poor health, that cost us 15% of the global real GDP, right? So we are talking about almost double effect of the COVID-19 every year. So the worst case scenario for COVID-19, we're talking about 8% loss, while because of poor environmental health, that cost us 15% of the global real GDP. So I think it's quite clear now that when we talk about the fatalities, the environmental challenges, and one of the biggest is air pollution. It is costing almost 7 times in terms of fatalities. And when we talk about the economy, if we are talking about a loss of 8% of the GDP because of the COVID-19, because of the pandemic, we are losing every year 15% of the GDP because of the poor health or the poor environmental health, which cost us 15%, right? So definitely that is very clear that when we talk about the environmental challenges, it is far beyond affecting the economy and the human health aspects. So, and in this study, in the same study, they mention if we work to enhance the health of the public, we are talking about adding $12 trillion to the global GDP, because when people are more healthy, then you don't lose because of, you don't lose the productivity of those people. They will be more healthy to produce more, and you are not spending on their health expenses, so that when people are healthier, then that will add $12 trillion to the GDP by 2040, right? So this is, again, prioritizing health. In the past century, health improvements from vaccine, antibiotics, sanitation, and nutrition, among others, have been a powerful catalyst for economic growth by expanding the labor force, increasing productivity, and delivering immense social benefits, right? And that is when we talk about the future as well. So the estimated potential reduction in poor health, we're talking about 41%, additional health days per person, 21. The GDP impact in 2040, more than $11 billion. And the GDP boost in 2040, we are talking about 8%. And the economic benefits from every dollar invested, it will be 2.7. So when we enhance the health sector, right, which is definitely related to the environmental challenges, so that will increase the productivity. So back to the numbers and impacts, the economical impacts from the environmental challenge, and reflecting it on some prediction of the COVID-19 impacts. So just here to put more emphasis on, and this is from this is a study from 2018. So we are talking about the economy burden of air pollution in China. This is only from air pollution, 6.6 loss from the GDP in China. In India, we are talking about 5.4. The lowest here is 0.8 in Brazil. While, like, if you just compare here in the Indian scenario, you talk about loss 5.4 of the GDP. This is because of air pollution, while the predicted impact because of the COVID-19, right? There will be a drop in the GDP from the GDP growth from 5.3 to 3.6. So here, just now I mentioned that I will show you how many people are dying, like for example, in India because of air pollution. So let's see here. In India, 1 million people dying because of air pollution, and India is losing 150 billion USD annually because of air pollution. Look here at the China, 1.8 million people dying annually because of air pollution, and China is losing 900 billion, right? You can see here, like Russia, 120,000 people dying because of air pollution, and Russia is losing 68 billion USD. Like South Korea, we're talking about 40,000 people dying because of air pollution, and Korea is losing $56 billion, and that is annually. Some other figures about the cost of air pollution, health impacts. This is from the road transport. So we're talking about 3.5 million people killed yearly globally by outdoor air pollution, 50% of the death from the outdoor air pollution, and the loss is $1.6 trillion. The impact of climate change on life lost and ill health in the OECD countries, China and India, we are talking about $3.5 trillion annually, right? And in California, the impact on childhood asthma and childhood cancer lead exposure that is costing 254 million every year, right? So, back to the link between the environmental issues and the coronavirus. So during the pandemic, there were a lot of lockdowns in different countries, different cities, and there was a lot of studies which shows enhancement, improvement in the environmental elements. We talk about reduction of the emissions because the industry shut down, the traffic being limited, so that caused loss and reduce in the emission, the greenhouse gases. There was a drastic reduction of environmental pollution, right? And the great majority of global, this is one of the aspects that most of the conflicts being put off. And this is just to show you one more evidence about the positive impact of the lockdown due to the COVID-19. So this figure from New Delhi from India, a study comparison between a few years from 2016 to 2020 for the same duration from 23rd March up to 13 April. And you can see that in 2020, the reduction in the emissions, and that is because of the lockdown. While you can see here, this is in 2016, these 2 weeks, and the green color in 2019. So basically, this is one of the positive impacts. We've seen a lot of reduction in the emissions in various countries, China, Europe, because definitely when we talk even about the number of flights, traveling, I mean, there was a lot of restriction on traveling, movement of people, so that caused and reduced the emissions. We've seen a lot of satellite images about the reduction of nitrogen dioxide in various global cities, right? And so I talk about the reduction in the energy that was kind of shifting because most of the people work from home, so there were some increase in the energy demand in houses. One of the negative impacts that created due to the pandemic related to the environment is the increase of the medical waste due to the consumption and a lot of people being admitted in the hospitals, the gloves, all medicine that been used, so that they increase the medical waste, and that need to be treated well before disposal, because that can be a threat in terms of the infection of the and transmission of the COVID-19. So yes, we have positive impacts due to COVID-19 in terms of the impacts on the environment. But how to sustain this? Because we can't have a long-term lockdown, because that will have an effect on the economy, and that will create will increase the unemployment rate. And we see now a lot of negative impacts due to the pandemic. So what is the way forward, right? The way forward, as you can see here in the triangle of the sustainable development, right? If we go back to the definition of the sustainable development, right? We are talking about meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. And we have basically three main elements. We are talking about the environmental aspects, right? And when we talk about the environmental aspects, so here we talk about the environmental aspect. We have the natural use, resources use to meet the needs of people. And in that context, we have to maintain the environmental protection. So the economic aspects, we are talking about wealth creation, we are talking about employment, property, and we have the third important element, which is the social aspect, where we have, when we meet the needs of the people, we need to protect the environment, and at the same time, we need to kind of make sure that we have a justice, social justice, we have equality in terms of providing the needs, and also in terms of saving the environment. So we have some cross-sectional issues. When we talk about, you know, the environmental and the economic, we have energy efficiency, incentive for use of natural resources. This is to maintain the balance. When we talk about the social and environment, we talk about environmental justice and natural resources stewardship, right? So that is the way forward. We have to find a balance between the economy needs, the protection of the environmental needs, and the social aspects, and that will maintain a sustainable living, a sustainable development practices. Is that difficult? I think if we perform the sustainability in a wise and balanced approach, that will help to make our life more sustainable, right? So, you know, the main idea is, and this is, that's why we need kind of a paradigm shift in the mentality of people, especially when we talk about the policymakers and the business. So the first thing is, when we look at the number just now, the pollutants is causing a lot of losses to the national economy, right? So when we save the environment, when we create sustainable businesses, means our businesses, our economical development need to be more friendly to the environment, right? If we establish any kind of project, whether it's a residential area, it's highway, or it's a factory, we have to start with environmental impact assessment. Why that is crucial? Because we need to investigate and we need to predict ahead what are the potential impacts on the environment, so that we can put up a plan, a mitigation plan, to reduce the impacts on the environment. Definitely that will cost money, but this cost will be very minimal comparing to the deterioration that we caused to the environment, right? Which will be paid later on in terms of health expenses, loss of productivity, loss of the yields of the agriculture. That's why we need to think about it in a holistic approach. If the owners of the industry think about sustainability, definitely they just will talk about the cost to them, because if they need to control, for example, air pollution, they need to buy technology to control the pollutants, right? But what about the impacts that this industry is causing to the community in terms of health impacts? Not only the health impacts, we've seen from the figures that millions of people dying because of air pollution, right? So both on the health aspects and the economy aspects, that will cost us more than we think if we propose strategies to control the pollutants. why we are talking about a collaborative approach that the industry, the government, academicians, NGOs, policymakers, everybody need to work together to achieve the sustainability, right? So, okay, if the business sector alone think about sustainability, it's a loss, right? Because they need to purchase new technologies, and that is costing a lot of money. So how the governments, the policymakers can help those business sector to achieve sustainability? You know, there is a lot of approaches, a lot of strategies. So to me, I'm always wondering, when industrial sector want to implement kind of technologies, to adopt technology to control pollution, why we can't consider that a CSR project, right? Which will reduce the burden on the industry, right? In some countries, they might employ kind of a strategy to provide loans from the banks or from the government with a very minimal interest rate, or there is no interest at all, right? So these policies will help the industry to make things easier and less costly for them to control the pollutants, right? And when the government is helping the industries, that will make things easier for them. At the other side, will reduce the spending of the government on the health sectors, right? Because less people will be sick, and that will improve again, will increase the productivity. So we have to look at both sides, right? And definitely when the industry get all the assistance, and if some of those industries still insist to pollute the environment, definitely I will have the policies and regulations to control that, and to kind of fine those industries, like between brackets, con, that they need to be punished so that they abide to the regulations, because they are harming the environment, they are harming the people, and they are causing loss to the national economy. Some people, they might ask about the role of the academia or the researchers. So no, there is a lot of and a growing approach, which is science-based decisions. For the government to decide, they need evidence. They need kind of studies which will make them more confident on issuing or deciding on policies, regulations, so that will help. And those policies, right, and those figures can be produced by the academician and researchers. One more aspect which was proposed and mentioned earlier by Prof. Chavez as well, that the academician, teachers, even we can contribute via the education for sustainability, because one of the most important elements people need to know about the sustainability, need to know about the environmental challenges, need to know about the impacts that is being created, because some of the environmental challenges, it's not related to industry only. It is because of our practices. Like, I'll give you one example, and it is common. When we talk about open burning or burning of waste, right? And this is a lot of individuals doing that, and they are harming themselves, because they convert the waste issue to air pollution issues, and that is causing a lot of impacts. And for example, if we burn plastic, that will cause a lot of toxins in the atmosphere, and that is a carcinogenic materials. So the awareness, also one important factor that need to be promoted, so that people understand the risk of their practices. In some aspects, those practices can be on a regional scale. And there is a lot of challenges globally when we talk about transboundary air pollution. And that issue is here in the region. When we talk about the forest fires, there is a lot of also issues in Thailand, Laos, a lot of issues between Korea, China, and Japan. There is a lot of issues in Ukraine and in the, the neighboring countries. So the forest fires is creating a lot of impacts, and that is definitely, it's a behavior of people practicing. Sometimes it's mixed with businesses, because those people, why they burn the forest? Because they want to save the money. They don't want to clear the land and clear the waste and dispose it, because that will cost them a lot of money. So they just burn the forest. But again, it involves awareness, and it involves a lot of also policy, regulations, and enforcement. And again, I want here to emphasize that to promote sustainability, it is kind of a collaborative approach. Everybody, every sector need to work with. I need to emphasize also can be a good rule to promote sustainability and work with the government, with academia, and the industrial sector to promote sustainability. Like if we talk about, again, the context when we lived at the lockdown because of the COVID-19, that helps to promote a lot of approaches which can be positive. Like many companies, many countries, many institutions, they perform and practice the work from home, right? And that promote the digitalization, right? The digital platform for teaching, for meetings, and definitely when we talk about integrating the digitalization, that reduce the the transport, the movement of transport, flights, so that reduce the emissions. That also reduced the cost for some of the institutions, because like, for example, if you talk about companies, when and some of the global companies, they practice that now, they ask their employees that they can work from home. Like I think one of the companies, Twitter, they can reduce not only the impacts on the environment, but also the impacts on their budgets as well, because they don't have to rent a lot of spaces. So people will work from home. They can achieve their tasks from home. So this is also reflecting on the economy side as well. So that creates a lot of potential. Talking about teaching and education, so the online education increase the possibilities and opportunities for and increase the accessibility to education. Definitely that need to be coupled with a good IT infrastructure, which will be good and providing the opportunity for students. During the lockdown and during this pandemic, we've seen a lot of drop in the oil prices, and this will give an opportunity for countries who subsidize the oil to invest this amount, which is about $500 million, to be invested in solar energy, right? Which will promote and will reduce the relay on the traditional sources of energy, and will make things more sustainable, especially when we talk about the energy. Again, one of the aspects is sustainable agriculture, local urban farms, and biopesticides. That will be a promising matrix to cut food waste and also achieve local food security while saving water and reducing chemical pesticide uses. So the practices of the sustainability, it has a lot of benefits, right? Both for the environment and for the economy as well. But provided that we have to look at the holistic approach, not to be kind of thinking in a silo. The economic sector and the environmentalists and the policymakers that need to be kind of integrated and we think on holistically. So one of the issues that we need in promotion, right, in promoting sustainability, we have this paradigm shift that the environment, it's not economic burden, it's an opportunity for new business. And one of the sectors that is developing very fast currently, when we talk about recycling of waste, right? So that we have a lot of approaches now, waste to energy, waste to wealth. I've seen a lot of technologies converting waste to oil, right? A lot of system converting waste to energy, right? So that instead of thinking that saving the environment or managing the waste is a burden, no, now waste become a wealth, right? And that's why now a lot of companies, that create a lot of opportunities for business, and this is worldwide. So we have to think business-wise on the environmental challenges, to think about it as an opportunity for the future, not as a burden, which will make things easier to practice the sustainability. So when we talk about the reduction of the traffic during the pandemic, so we talk about reduction of the congestion, reduction of the accidents, reduction of the emissions, and also saving the energy, which also have an impact on the health aspects. And there are some social aspects as well, talking about improving the human mental health and strengthening the family bonding. And many people, they are talking about spending of the countries on the military budgets, right? And we've seen that during the pandemic, that these spending on the military have saved no one, because we are fighting with unseen enemy, right? Which costs us a lot of losses. While if we invest those multi-trillion budgets on the military, we shift that to education and health, that will help a lot, because we've seen a lot of advanced country, even they are struggling to find ventilators for the people, and that cause a lot of human fatalities. So talking about sustainability as well, we need to have a stable political environment, a strong legal and enforcement system, and a generous government budgets for health, education, and IT infrastructure. So a healthy ecosystem is a foundation for sustainable economic growth and stable societal well-being. Maybe just to conclude here, when we talk about promotion of sustainability, definitely all of you know about the 17 sustainable development goals that we need to work and try to achieve those goals, talking from number 1, no poverty, up to number 17, partnership, and for the goals. So all these sustainable development goals linked to environment, economy, and society as well. So these are the important triangle and pillars of sustainability. So I think I conclude here. For the next sessions, for tomorrow, we will have one session on the environmental sustainability, and after that, we'll have the next session will be on the business sustainability, and later on we'll have one session on the social sustainability and accountability, and the last session will be on the governance and leadership for sustainability. So we are trying in this program to cover all aspects of sustainability, so that you can have the basic knowledge on sustainability, to have the means to promote sustainability in your communities. And we are looking forward to see you in the next sessions. And beyond that, we are looking forward to work with you to develop the sustainability efforts in your countries, And again, to me, I don't believe that sustainability will stop if we don't have funding, because most of the sustainability efforts need to be done by individuals, by institutions, right? And as I mentioned, it just need to kind of develop and create a paradigm shift in the mentality, especially for business people, that conserving and saving the environment, it is not an economic burden rather than a business opportunity, right? And that need the efforts of everybody from the academia, from the NGOs, from the business and policymakers, who are playing a very big role in terms of the regulations, the policies, and also facilitating the efforts of the industry to make the sustainable practices a reality. So thank you so much. And if you have any question, I'll try to see here if there is any question and try to respond to your inquiries. So thank you so much. So some people asking about the presentations. We will provide you with the presentations, right? Okay, I'm checking the questions here. Hope I don't miss any. Okay, so for the some people asking, I think, about the attendance. So at the end of the program, for those who join, we will provide a feedback form, and for those who fill in the form and the feedback, they will be getting a certificate. We also have recording for every and each session, and that will be on YouTube. We'll provide you the links for those who can't attend live the sessions. They can follow later on the session on YouTube, and they will have the right to fill in the form. And if they fill the form successfully, they can get their certificate. Okay, after pandemic situation, it will be a challenge. I'm not sure. I just prefer, like, if you can, for those who want to ask, just to make it very short and concise, so that the answer will be quite easy rather than make a long statements. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm trying to see here if there is any question. Okay, so if you have any question, I think you can type your question here, so that I can before we conclude the session. Okay, for those who have a question, you just can type your question here, please. So somebody is asking about wetlands. Definitely, when we talk about wetlands, we are talking about a part of the ecosystem, right? So the conservation of these biosources and the balance in the biodiversity that need to be maintained, because any disruption of the biodiversity will cause damage to the environment and will cause even when we talk about the pandemic, right? So it's basically a biodiversity. It's a disruption for the ecosystem, right? Which caused this pandemic, and now we are facing a lot of troubles due to this pandemic. So how can people in developing countries move swiftly and participate in sustainability? This is very clear, as I mentioned, that we need the efforts from every and each talking about the individuals. The individuals, if they are academician, researchers, working with the government, working with the NGO, everybody can play a role. And the minimal that we can do is promoting of sustainability, make people understand more about sustainability in terms of the practicality of the sustainability. And it's not, this creating this paradigm shift that the sustainability, it's not a burden. So how can developing African countries fight effectively against greenhouse gases? When we talk about climate change and greenhouse gases, so you have this issue is a local and global, right? When we talk about the local issues, right? So definitely we have to try to limit the greenhouse gases, right? And when we talk about the emissions, there are two levels of the issues. The first one is the immediate health impacts of the pollutant and the long-term impacts on the climate change, right? One of the issues, and you will see if you look at the different aspects of the emissions, so you have the power plants, you have the industry. So sometimes, it's not easy to propose like if a poor country which rely more on cheap source of energy, right? Definitely the easier way to do it, they have to get rid of that source. But is it viable? Is it practical? Are they capable of doing that? That is one more challenge, right? Because you can propose solar energy instead of using the coal for producing electricity. But does those countries, especially when you talk about the less developed countries, are they capable of affording the solar energy instead of the these traditional sources of energy? That will be kind of more complicated issue, and it's not a straightforward question or answer, but definitely, we can't wait until we resolve all the environmental challenge. But as I mentioned, some of the issues which is more related to the practices of the industries, some of the practices of the human, right? At least we contribute to minimize the pollutants to the environment. I'm talking about various practices, like, when we talk about the agriculture sector. So the overuse of the pesticides, creating a lot of issues, health issues, and also polluting the water, polluting the soil, right? And that is, so if we can find a source, a bio product which can replace the pesticides, that can solve at least one of the challenges. When we talk about burning the waste, it's more related to the human behavior. When we are talking about, so when we talk about practices of the individuals or practices of, certain sectors, agriculture, business, so a promotion and innovation as well will be needed, and that can be held by the academic institution to find a kind of replacement products, products which is less hazardous to the environment and the human, and that will decrease the risk to the environment and the human as well. So what can be done to ensure more youth are agent of sustainability? Definitely, this is one of the platforms that we are doing now. When we are promoting, we are empowering people, that will transfer, that will create more change agent globally. And definitely when you have a network, so the kind of sharing knowledge and technology transfer from one country to another, that will help to minimize the efforts and exchange ideas and practices. Did you tell us about the statistics of air pollution in the Middle East, please? So somebody is asking about air pollution in the Middle East. Those figures that I shared from the WHO reports and some studies. So if I have more numbers on the Middle East, I may share them later on, but this is the numbers that I got from those studies, right? But definitely when we talk about, if you mention about like the Middle East, if you want to compare, like, and talk about the big cities, like one of them in Cairo, and I think maybe some of the participants from Egypt, you know, the traffic emissions. When you have more people, you have traffic emission, and sometimes talking about the condition of the cars as well. Like when you have more old cars than new cars, so this will deteriorate the emissions. If you have kind of the setup of the city, you have traffic emissions, you have industry, that will worsen things and will create more negative health impacts. Okay, so okay, somebody is talking about the most of the sustainability mentioned social, economic, and environmental affected the political system. This is very true. That's why I mentioned one of the sessions that will be later on is about governance and leadership, because definitely the political governance is a very important aspect of sustainability, even though the formal definition of sustainable development, it's only talking about environment, social, and economy. But the governance and leadership is playing a very important and crucial role in implementing the sustainability. And definitely in this program, we will have one session on leadership and governance, right? So one of the habits that can cause air pollution is burning waste, whether organic or inorganic. So what is the solution can be done to reduce this habit? Definitely that will need to be in the individual level. It needs a lot of kind of awareness, to increase the awareness of people about the risk and the health impacts. Talking about the larger scale of open burning, which is mostly practiced by some of the companies to save money, to save their budgets, that will need a lot of enforcement and regulations from the government agencies. So that will help to reduce that risk, which create a lot of regional threats. So in agriculture sector, or to promote sustainability, we have to deviate to practicing of conservation of agriculture. Okay, so okay, so I think yeah, I tried to respond to most of the questions. So I think we have to conclude here, right? So we will conclude here, and we'll resume back tomorrow on the second session about environmental sustainability. So hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much again for your time and your interest, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Okay, some of the participants asking about the feedback form. The feedback form will be sent to you at the last day, will be sent to you later on, right? After concluding the program, because that will be a comprehensive one. So we will provide it to the participants, and you can fill it anytime. We'll open it for a few days, and based on that, you will get the certificate. Thank you so much. For those who ask about this Zoom link, yes, it will be the same Zoom link. If there is any changes, we will let you know. Thank you so much. For those who are asking about the time, yes, it will be same time tomorrow. Again, for those who ask about the link for attendance, we will share the link at the last day, the final session. We will provide you with the link for the feedback form, right? And those who fill in the feedback form successfully, they will receive the certificate. Thank you so much. Yes, this is the end for today's session. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.